Today, we're looking at a very important part of the upcoming WolfQuest Saga, when your pups of the year learn how to hunt. And immediately is a bit tricky because there's no evidence that wolves teach their pups to hunt. Instead, the pack leaders just go hunting, the pups come along, and the pups learn at the school of hard knocks, literally. There is definitely a learning curve though, and we're modeling that with experience points, XP. So in September, when your pups are 5 months old, they've gained about 1,500 XP over the course of the spring and summer, and now they are ready to live the nomadic lifestyle. The pack abandons the rendezvous site and spends the fall and winter following the elk herds around the landscape. Initially, the pups follow the adults on hunts, but hang back, just observing. But over time, they gain XP from observation, and they come in closer and closer, and finally dare to dart in and bite an elk. So Tommy has gotten this working well, mechanically, but our original idea for the gameplay for this, what the player is thinking and doing, doesn't work as clearly as we thought. We want the player to be managing the hunt, getting in there, biting elk to encourage the pups to take bites themselves, but monitoring the situation, and if things get too crazy or dangerous, veering off to pull the pups away from the elk into safety. Basically trying to thread the needle, give the pups enough experience to learn the ropes, while hopefully preventing them from getting killed in the process. And you can and should do that, but hunting with pups is just so crazy and chaotic that you can't do it to the extent that I'd been thinking. So we're still exploring that, but the first task is simply to make it clear to the player what's happening with your wolf, your mate, a couple of subordinates and yearlings, all involved in the hunt, plus your pups of the year. It's just crazy. So much movement, so much action. So first we needed to make it clear which of these pack mates were your pups of the year, since they're almost full grown, about 90% the size of an adult wolf. So we're still experimenting with that, but here I've got a bullet point in front of and behind each pup's name tag, so it's much easier to spot. But we also realized that we needed to limit the number of wolves actively participating in the hunt. Here we have my mate and I, and a yearling and a subordinate wolf, 4 wolves on the elk, and there's no room for a pup to get in there and find out what it's like. But how do we do that? Do 1 or 2 wolves just sit under a tree and watch? Fortunately, science came to the rescue. I'd read this paper years ago, remembering that it found that the optimal number of wolves in an elk hunt is only 4. So that's great, because that's a solid rationale for limiting the number of wolves attacking an elk. But what I'd forgotten is actually the best part. Dr. Dan McNulty, who's been a WolfQuest advisor since 2007, he and his collaborators didn't just want to understand what the optimal number was, but why. And they looked at a number of possibilities. They observed and then analyzed 469 wolf-elk encounters and looked at a number of possibilities. Was it because of tight spaces? 5 or 6 wolves just couldn't squeeze in there, get a bite together? Well, that's the way it is for us, but real wolves are better at maneuvering than our wolves, and that was not an explanation for this optimal number of wolves in an elk hunt. Was it because of age? Elderly or juvenile wolves didn't get in there as much as wolves in their prime? Nope, that's not a factor. Was it because of competence, or incompetent or inept wolves less likely to get in there and participate? Nope, wasn't correlated with that either. It was correlated with breeder status. Parents are more likely to take risks to feed their kids. And non-breeders, non-parents are more likely to be like, did you see the size of that hoof? I don't know that I want to do that. And they also found that the likelihood of an individual non-breeder wolf participating in the hunt was pretty high for the initial part of the hunt, where you're just coming in, scoping out the herd, trying to figure out who's the weakest one, and rapidly the odds declined. That is to say, the number of wolves participating in the hunt drops significantly as things get dangerous. And when actually getting in there and biting and killing the elk, that limit of 4 is where you really see it in the data. And so they had to conclude that some wolves in the pack are free riders. They're here for the food, not for the injuries, thank you very much. Biting elk is dangerous business. Bravery and long life don't go hand in hand. So they'll participate in the larger hunt, but they'll try to avoid putting themselves in harm's way, as long as they can still be there when there's fresh meat to eat. Boy, do I love this. I love this so much. The primary goal of WolfQuest is to live the life of a wild wolf, and that means understanding how wolves think and behave. They are not vicious, bloodthirsty killers. They just want to stay alive at lowest cost and risk to themselves. I confess I also love this because I know that some players are really looking forward to having a big, powerful pack that'll make hunting super easy, but the truth is, that's not how wolves think about it. So, we impose that limit. but it's still crazy, chaotic, fast-paced, and really hard to know what's going on when a pup is actually biting, especially since they only bite for a second or so when they're still gaining skill and confidence. So we're experimenting with some feedback. Right now we have these bite icons, a placeholder icon, just to see how that works. Is that enough feedback? Do you need to see more, like how much damage they're taking or how much XP they're gaining? But it's such a busy situation, I don't know that you could even take in all that information. So we're still trying to figure this out. It's not just a matter of building the core game mechanics and AI and the behaviors for all the animals. You've also got to figure out what we want the player to be thinking about and doing while they're interacting with those game systems. So this may evolve further as we continue to develop it before the saga is ready for release. Still lots of work to do, but we are making progress and it's really coming along. So stay tuned for more updates.